Hello, everybody. I guess I am live. I am doing this on Instagram now, but I will attempt to save this video and post it on Facebook and YouTube and all the other platforms. But if you're here with me today, welcome. This is actually my first time doing this on Instagram, so I'm gonna try to make this interactive. If you guys have any comments, feel free to share, and I will try my best to comment. Tonight we're going to be talking about dealing with the bully in our brain, that inner critic, that inner voice that we hear. I also have a computer here where I can see your comments, so I will try my best to respond to you guys. So for those who don't know me, my name is Avi Ben Mordechai. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist, and I work with children, with couples, with adults, with teens, and dealing with a variety of challenges that people face. And one of the most frequent thing that I see come into my office is people dealing with the difficulty of dealing with that inner critic, the negative thinking, the negative self-talk about ourselves, constantly putting ourselves down, not feeling like we're good enough, not feeling like we're able to do certain things, even when we try, have that negative self-talk. So today I wanted to share a few points on this. I know there's a lot to discuss, and there's many different angles to look at this from, but just to be able to share a couple of my points, hopefully this can be helpful to you. And we're also going to talk about a certain book that I recommend to my clients and to parents to get. It's called "There's a Bully in My Brain." I'm not sure if you ever read this book or heard about this book. It's an excellent book, and I share this a lot with parents. And even when working with kids, this is an excellent book to discuss how to lower the volume on that negative talk that we sometimes have. So the first thing we want to talk about is paying attention to your thoughts. A lot of the times we don't even recognize the way our brain thinks, because we're conditioned like that for so many years to live that way, that we don't even stop ourselves and think like, hey, why am I thinking like this? Let's say, for example, you have an exam and you're studying for the test, and you're constantly feeling, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail, I'm not gonna pass, I'm so stupid, I'm so dumb, I'm not gonna be good enough, right? Check it, look at the evidence for a moment. Stop yourself at where you're at, and ask yourself, why am I thinking this way? Paying attention to the way we think is so important, and a lot of the times we don't do that. Or for example, before you go to an event, right, you may get all dressed up, trying your best to look good, and then you may feel like you don't look good enough, and that may stop you from going to that specific event. Or maybe you may think you're not a good conversationalist, and you won't be able to make good conversation, or you're going to sound dumb when you talk to people, right? Saying those type of things can really stop you from experiencing joy and actually living your life to the fullest. So the first thing is, we want to pay attention to the thoughts that we're having in our mind. Once we pay attention, hang on a second. All right. Once we pay attention to the thoughts that are coming into our mind, start recognizing the patterns, right? Am I thinking, for example, every time I go to a social event, am I starting to panic? Am I starting to think I'm no good enough? Why do I think I'm no good enough? Are people telling me that? And if people are telling me that, what type of people are they? Are they people that matter most to me in my life? And if yes, if they do matter most to me, maybe it's time to set a boundary, right? Which is another topic for another time. But setting boundaries when it comes with toxic people in our life is very, very important. We want to examine the evidence. That's really important to consider. A lot of the times, whenever we're having that negative thought about ourselves, that self-criticism that's going on, we want to examine it. For example, let's say you say to yourself, I'm gonna fail my math test, right? I'm so dumb. I'm not gonna make it. Ask yourself a question. Have you failed every single math test you ever took in school? Most likely not, right? So pay attention that there were some times that you did pass and that you were successful, right? Our brain is conditioned in a way where we're so used to focusing on the negative things. Like 100 things can happen during the day, and that one bad thing that happens, we focus on that. Like, for example, like an Instagram comment, right? Social media. You'll have so many people commenting great things, and that one comment that you get, it makes you think about that all day long, and it affects your activities of daily living. You're not able to do anything. You feel so hyper focused on that thought, and it can be debilitating, and it can stop you from leading a happy, successful life. And if this is something that you're dealing with, it's definitely important to recognize that, right? We want to also be able to start to reframe your thinking, right? For example, let's say um, you want to set up your house a specific type of way, or you're trying to build something and you're not able to do it so perfectly for some reason, right? Or you're trying to bake a cake for the first time, and for some reason it's just not coming out the way you want to. So a lot of the times people will criticize themselves, saying how they're so not good, and they suck at everything that they do, right? But give yourself a moment to kind of feel it out, right? Get into that zone. Once you're there, talk nicely to yourself. Imagine you have a friend who's going through a hard time, right? If they were to come to you and say to you, "Hey, listen, I don't feel so confident within myself. I'm not able to do it." You would right away come up with some nice, kind words to tell them, to be like, "Hey, you got this. You've been there. You've been through, challenges. You've went through this. You'll make it through," right? So how come sometimes we don't say that to ourselves? Why don't we give ourselves the kind words that we need, right? We also need to be able to understand that we have the power to change the channel in our mind. If we're not feeling good, let's try to think about something. For example, first of all, obviously, being able to work through that difficulty that we're going through, right? Not to suppress it. We definitely want to explore and see, like, hey, why am I feeling this way? But at that moment, if you want to think about something just to get out of that cycle of negative thinking, if you want to think about something that makes you feel content and at peace, and something that's going to bring more joy to your life, that's okay too, right? Think about your brain as a muscle, right? If we were to go to the gym and you want to lift 300 pounds, right? You may not be able to do that from the first time, but being able to come into the gym every single day and repeat that over and over again, start with 5 pounds and go to 10 and 15 and 20, eventually you will build the strength to pick up that heavy weight, right? Same thing with our brain. We need to work with our brain to be able to start to change that negative thinking pattern. It's called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. We have thoughts, right? And then we have feelings, and we have actions. The thoughts that we think can also make us feel a certain way, and when we feel a certain way, we act a certain way. So for example, if we think we're not good enough, we may feel like we're not able to do certain things, and we're not going to be good enough, and that will result us into isolating ourselves and us not being able to be active, possibly with certain family members, or giving us a public speech, right? For example, we want to be able to also start talking about rejection, right? A lot of the times people fear rejection so much because we want to feel accepted, which is a very normal thing, right? Growing up, whenever we were in pre-1A or first grade or second grade, we wanted everybody to like us. We wanted to be accepted. But as we grow, we have to come to an understanding that it's okay if not everybody likes us. It's not meant to be that way, right? And for us to recognize that and become content with that. We also want to focus on a gray area, which means a lot of the times people have this way of thinking. It's like all or nothing. Either I'm gonna do this perfectly, or I'm not gonna do this at all, right? And a lot of times that type of mindset stops us from achieving our goals. So being able to kind of live in that gray area, giving us room for error sometimes, because that's really how we grow. And if you feel something that's not okay, right? That's not, you're not happy with yourself, being able to work on that, right? We have the tool in our mind to be able to do that. Getting some help if you're feeling like you need some assistance, going to therapy, talking to a coach, talking to a friend, talking to somebody who you can trust to help you through that difficulty and help you navigate through difficult moments in your life, that can be very comforting. And sometimes it can be hard, it can be challenging, changing the way you think for so many years, right? It's called a level of homeostasis. We've kind of been conditioned to live a certain type of way, and now all of us, even though if it's negative, right, our brain likes consistency. If you're thinking negatively, or if you're having that negative the voice in your mind telling you that you're no good enough, right, by default you wake up in the morning right away thinking that way. But you're able to change that. We also want to be able to work on being able to become vulnerable and talk to somebody about this if you feel like it's too much, it's overwhelming, because these type of thoughts can turn into anxiety, they can turn into depression, and it can make you feel a lot of discomfort, and that's not what we want. Being able to reach out for support or some help can definitely bring more peace and balance in your life. So if you're watching this now, start getting in tune with your thoughts. What are some of the things that you think about? Is it causing you discomfort? Do you get into a bad state of mind whenever you think about certain things? Let's try to be more conscious about the way we think. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to do this some more. All right, this was fun. How do I stop this now? Let's see.